Hello, welcome to Evie Knits. My name is Emily. I'm a knitter and making enthusiast here in Orlando, Florida. And this video is actually not about knitting, it's crochet. And this gorgeous sun hat, I call it my work of love. Again, it is a self-drafted crochet pattern, and I'm going to take you through the entire making process. So you're going to see all the clips here. We'll go back in time, and then we'll catch up again for some final thoughts at the end. I have this raffia left over. What do I want to do with it? I was looking at bucket hats. I found this one in Anthropologie. It looks like it's crocheted. It looks like it's made of raffia. It looks like flower granny squares, basically. I will insert a picture. I'm thinking this is going to be the main color. I'm thinking these two. And I'm not so much a pink and purple girl, but this is what I have, and I don't really want to order more at this point. So it's going to be like this maybe, this purple maybe the inside, the pink around it, and then as the petal, the white creamy color around that, and then this around all of it as like the main color. That's what I'm thinking it'll look like. And this will be a totally me experimentation project, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I don't know crochet that well. Here are my crochet hooks that I have in use. I'm just gonna have to experiment with needle sizes. It looks like it's about 6 granny squares for the head and then 8 for the brim is what it looks like. I'll probably add the wire in again, and we're just gonna see. My boyfriend said it looked crazy, but I'm gonna see. I think it's kind of cute, so it's gonna be an experiment. Fast forward, it's 2022. We are back at this project. Editing Emily here. I'm adding in a voiceover because I actually had COVID when I pulled this project back out, and you can definitely hear it in this clip in my voice. So I'm bringing a little more energy here and a little more info. Last year I made 2 granny squares, so I pulled it back out and made 4 more. I'm using a 2mm crochet hook. I didn't draft the pattern for this flower granny square myself. It's a pattern I found on YouTube. It's called the African Flower Granny Square. I compared a few different motifs that I had found, and this one was my favorite. It is a little bit complicated, but the pattern and the tutorial is very, very thorough, so I find it easy to follow. I used a single crochet seam to seam these squares together. You'll see on the back there is a bit of a crease, a little bit of extra fabric there, but it doesn't bother me or scratch my head in any way when I wear it, so I'm perfectly fine with it. I felt like when I looked at the picture, it was a single crochet join. Throughout this project, I'm using this crochet sun hat here that I made a few years back as a base and a general idea for the size of the hat, since I know that this original one fits my head. I originally made 6 flower squares, however I'm only going to need 5 when it comes to this hat and its width on my head, but the actual height of the hat is quite a bit taller than the original. I wanted to create a more structured faux top hat look to this hat, so I attempted to make this structured crown or brim. However, it's way too big, which is going to mean it's too floppy and just falling over the place. It's not going to fit my head properly, so I am going to have to frog it at least an inch or 2 to make sure that it fits. It might be best not to make such a dramatic transition from the top of the hat to the base of the hat, as you can see here where I made it 90 degrees on purpose, so that it would be that faux top hat, but it's not really working out the way I pictured. For the brim, the picture I'm replicating has flowers on the brim, but I think that's too floppy. I think I am going to yeah, my thought is just to make this tan colored brim and make it about half as wide with some more wire in it, so it again is that very structured look that I'm kind of going for something different. I went ahead and ripped out that 90-degree angle part of the top of the hat that I had, but I didn't redo the entire top. I just frogged it about an inch. However, it's still looking pretty big and a little bit lumpy on my head when I try it on. I decided to completely rip out the crown. I'm going to do some math and figure out a different way to make the top less lumpy. Hi, I love you. Jenna Phipps, she's a really big YouTube maker, and she actually just released a video of making a crochet flower sun hat, just like the one I'm attempting. So I'm not copycatting her, not that it's a big deal, I guess, but she actually followed the same exact tutorial as I did for the flower granny squares. So it is basically the same hat. You can see that I've regressed since the last time I showed you. I took the top of the part of the hat off because I had too many stitches in the crown and then the body, which I thought was making it really lumpy. So I ripped back, but still it was too many stitches. So I ripped back even more to the same number of stitches so the base of the hat and the top of the hat had the same number. However, it still was looking lumpy to me. So this is a geometric shape with 6 sides, as you can see. I thought maybe if I redo the top of the hat and make it an actual circle, it wouldn't be so lumpy. There wouldn't be opportunities for corners or things to get bunched. So I went ahead and redid the crown of the hat, this time with the same number of stitches as the body, but in a circle. To make a circle, I alternated where my increases are every row, so that way it's not the same 6 places you're increasing every time as it is in this shape. You can really tell with this side-by-side comparison how well blocking works. Steaming this raffia yarn makes it so much floppier and more flexible, whereas the circle I haven't blocked yet and it's very condensed. And as always, Moonlight needs all of the attention, so I'll be back in a minute. Next step is to crochet that circle crown onto the body of the hat and attach the 2 sides just through a single crochet, but it's still looking too big for the hat. Like, I think it was 5 or 6 rounds less, it would be a lot nicer. But I'm going to move on to the brim. I'm going to make the brim, see how it looks, and potentially go back and adjust this in some way. Like I said, moving on here, what I did is I slip stitched around, and this is a trick I learned from a tutorial I watched. This way, now I'm going to crochet into those slip stitches, and so the slip stitches are on the side here, and I'll be crocheting out directly. So instead of wanting to go down, of course as the brim gets bigger it'll want to go down because of gravity, but at least it'll be attached outwards this way instead of downwards, if that makes sense. I've begun the brim. I'm going to ignore the top because I'll probably be redoing that. But we're about 1.5 inches into the brim. It needs a steam, but it will, I'm pretty sure it will lay down once it's steamed. I'm only going to make a 3-inch brim. So I want it to be very sturdy, I think. So I'm going to begin inserting this galvanized wire and crocheting around the wire for about the last 5 rows or so. That way that won't just flop down like that when it's on, and it should stay straight, or that's the goal at least. Benefits of hyperspeed. You realize how much your head bobs when you're crocheting. Wow, I'm surprised. Okay, this is looking better than I thought. This will iron out. I'm not worried about this. The top doesn't even look as bad as I thought it did.
Ooh, I never saw this coming. Ooh. Well, yesterday we were wee, but yesterday you said you didn't need me, and that was the day that you gave it all up. Just yesterday I thought we might be in love.
I'm really liking the brim. I think it is about done, but I think I am still not loving the bits of extra fabric. I'm like 98% sure. I'm 90% sure, I'll say that I want to redo that. That'll take some math, I think. But I can do it! I wasn't planning on knitting the entire brim of this hat last night, but I started and just didn't want to stop. So, this is what we came up with. And I'm not 100% sold on it. but I'm 95% sold on it. It's not complete. I didn't finish the last row that I wanted. I started doing it. That's what the end, the very last bit it's gonna look like. I started doing it and then I just wasn't sure, and that row takes forever. So I was like, I'm not gonna do this if I'm unsure. I felt like there was some waviness. Maybe you can kind of see some waviness in the parts without the wire crocheted into it. So I was thinking, do I need to rip back and do the entire brim with the wire inside, crochet around the wire for the entire brim? I also think this, like right here, you see it's a little bit floppy. I wanted it stark straight. See, it doesn't look that bad. Like, I could convince myself to keep it. But I've spent so much, it's been a year making this hat. I want it to be something I'm really gonna be proud of. And this top, this extra fabric, is not something I'm proud of. So I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna leave this to sit for a little while. I'm gonna rework on this. That'll be my next step in this process. And then I'll come back here and see what I think once the crown is how I want it. Is this the brim I want, or am I gonna wanna redo that as well? Catch you later. I'm at the pool, completely redoing the crown. I started from scratch and got my little setup. And here's me. I did the math, and after several experiments, I figured out the way I want the crown. I started by casting on 8 stitches. That way I'm increasing 8 stitches instead of last time I was only increasing 6 stitches each round. So now it's a more rapid increase, so I can get to the 120 stitch mark, which is what the body is. However, 120 stitches was still pretty big, so I ended up at 107 stitches around my crown. And then, again, after several attempts of trial and error and some math, I ended up single crocheting 5, single crochet 2 together when attaching the crown to the body of the hat. And this way it pulled the flowers in a little bit more. And while there is still a little bit of bunchiness, it's much less fabric than what was here last time in previous attempts, and I'm happier with this version. I'm in my swimsuit because I want to go to the pool again, but here is the top. It's not as bunchy, and then when we get this brim right, I think it'll be really nice. I'm gonna make the wire, I think almost all of the rounds have wire in them, and then I will make it a lot shorter. That's the plan.
We used to go walking in the evening just before it got dark. It was strange in such a short time how you came to hold my heart. And it scares me now looking back on how fast.
But I'm really feeling like I look like a grandma with this hat on. I'm not sure what to do. I'm gonna try and steam this and see if steaming it, what that does, if it makes it look any different. I don't feel like it will, but we might as well see, right? This hat has more wire in it than any hat I've ever made before, so it's requiring a little bit extra tugging and maneuvering to get it to lay flat. It looks a little harsh, and it is. I'm still trying to be gentle with it though, because it is slightly delicate, but I wanted to get it to lay flat. And when I googled the best way to steam a hat with metal in it, it suggested a cotton shirt over the hat and then ironing it. So I went ahead and did that, and wow, it really did change. It really did get flatter. Also, kind of just moving the wire around inside helped too. Feeling like I'm gonna finish it off this way. And we're back. Final thoughts about this experiment. This is absolutely my work of love. It was so worth the time and effort it took. The frogging, the reattempts, the math, setting it down, setting it aside. If you have a project or a picture that you love and want to make yourself, I highly encourage you to test your skills and to make it. There are so many resources out there, from tutorials to perhaps classes at your local library. I'm attending one soon. To books, just to test your knowledge and to grow those skills, because my crochet skills when I started were very, very minimal. But now I have a much better grasp on crochet, about how to make a hat, and it's just so fulfilling when something that you've pictured in your head comes to fruition, it comes to life. So I highly recommend you do it yourself, and even just taking a moment, take a pause like I did. I needed to set it aside because I didn't have the ability and the skills and the confidence to do it last year, and picking back up this year really inspired me to keep going. So I would encourage you to do the same. Take a moment, set it aside if you need to for a day, a week, a year, however long you need, and then come back to it. And if you don't love it, rip it back, take the time to make it your own. I would love to hear what you're working on. If you have any self-drafted patterns or photos or pictures or ideas in mind of projects that you want to make, I think it's so worth it, but I'd love to hear where you're at in that journey. Please like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me grow. It helps me grow this channel. It helps me continue to make this content. I would highly recommend the knit bucket hat video I recently released if you liked this one. It's another making vlog, but this time of a knit hat project. And I will see you in the next one. Happy making, friends!
I never saw this coming. Ooh, I should have took off running.